Welcome on the Deadwoodjedi. This is going to be a King Arthur Legends Rise video, and I'm really excited because Clan War just started recently, and so I thought I would do a video talking about some of the rare champions that you could look to bring in for your teams, because here's the thing with this. Yeah, it's only 2 defenses that we're setting up, right? Only 2 defenses, so you can use all your best champions for that. That's no big deal. I mean, we're getting our butts whooped here, right? No big deal on that one. Or somebody on my team decided to just run through an empty field there. But the thing is, on offense, you get up to 7 teams. So that means you're going to have to break into your rare champions. You're going to have to go deep in your vault to really put some of those teams together when you face tough opponents. So let's look at some of the champions that might be beneficial for that. And that's kind of what we're going to do today. Now, I will say that, you know, one of the things that you're going to want to keep in mind, there's very few champions with auras. I think they're all legendaries, either all battle auras or Clan War specific. So that's always going to be something you're going to want to build some of your teams around. But outside of that, it can get a little bit trickier. So we'll look at some of these rare champions and kind of figure out who's good, who's not good, some of you might want to look at. To be fair, I think all these champions have some value, right? So let's not ignore that. I don't want to cover too much on champions like Arthur, who's just going to be a really good damage dealer. Same thing is going to go for champions like Cormac is a really good damage dealer, right? But I think what we want to focus on are more unique champions. Kay is one of those champions that I think is definitely worth looking at. One of the big things that she gets is she gets a big boost to her evasion rate. So it's the kind of thing where if you build her with a lot of evasion, she can just avoid attacks and keep counterattacking, keep attacking the enemy while not getting hit herself. So that might be one possible thing you're going to want to be looking at when you're building these champions. You know, another champion that I think might be kind of interesting is Kierran. Kierran, she changes the weather at the start, right? Which is a pretty cool, changes to night and squall right at the start of the fight. So this can pair really well with a lot of different champions that, you know, kind of work well at night. She has a really strong, I think this passive here, Heartless Strike, right? When the weather's nice and attacking, she triggers Heartless Strike if the target has an abnormal status. So if you compare her with somebody that places abnormal status, that can work really, really good, right? Both the Flame and the Frost ones, I think, are pretty good for her. Let's see, who else we got here? We got a few of them today I want to kind of go over very quickly. Ardoin. Ardoin's really good. Talking about abnormal status, this girl, she just drops a bunch of polymorphs, which is fantastic. Pairs really well with Kierran, obviously. Her, and what's the A2 here, I think is really good. Yeah, another polymorph ability. The other part with her is when her C8 ability here, the Chivalry 8, she uses skill 2 when counterattacking. So counterattack is really good because that C2 is going to drop that polymorph. So you can build her with a lot of counterattack stuff or pair with some counterattack champions. Could be really, really valuable once you get her up to C8 there. I think definitely worth considering with that champion. So let's talk about Boars here. Boars, I think, definitely has some potential. One of the big things with Boars is his A3 skill, right? Which is just an ally counterattack ability, which is, I think, pretty, I'm sorry, this is an ally counter damage increase on this A3 here, but he does also have, where is it? It's one of the passive abilities, I want to say, is he gives counterattack. Yeah. So he has a chance when allies hit of triggering counterattack on the attacker and inflicting taunt. That's a pretty dope little ability there. Not to mention that he gives himself that buff to give himself either taunts or more damage on that counterattack, which is pretty dope. So because of that passive, he's going to be counterattacking and he's going to be hitting harder. So that could make for a really good build on a tanky, kind of like a go second type of team. Definitely somebody to keep in mind. Baudwin's another one. Now, I like Baudwin a lot as far as his passives because he has abnormal status and a more normal status removal. I'm sorry, he removes abnormal status, 50% chance when someone's inflicted with it. That's pretty dope, a little ability. He also has normal status immunity at the start of the battle on a random ally and a big shield that he puts on 2 allies. So like he's got some really tanky stuff, right? He also does shared damage and increased defense. So he's got a lot of things that can kind of help keep the rest of your team alive. Definitely something I would be paying attention to as far as that goes. And so he's also got like silence and yeah, some nice abilities as far as like helping the rest of your team out. Now, Uriens is another really good one, I think. These are champions that generally are going to work good for like tanky builds, kind of that go second, slower team. You're going to try and survive when the other team's, whacking you with their legendary champions. This might be able to like just kind of drain them down, maybe set up your more damage heavy teams, right? That could be a possibility here when you're going against the enemy. But got some really cool stuff, right? Obviously, HP recovery, defense increase, those are really big. Get triggered on hit, which is nice. Also chance to trigger when he's attacking, physical enhancement and counterattack states get extended, which is great because he gets a counterattack state with this A3 and can put it on other allies as well. So that means that he can get hit, he can counterattack and kind of constantly do that, which makes him very good, I think, again, as kind of like a defensive team that can do some damage offensively for you. The interesting champion I think you want to pay attention to might be Clementine. Now, this is obviously, a healer sometimes, maybe not the strongest of them, but she does a lot of attack gauge decrease, which is very strong. And she can, she has some abnormal status removal. It always depends, of course, on, which relic you're using for her. But the attack gauge increase is going to help. You're going to have some kind of help with this A2 ability that's either going to remove damage over time, debuffs or abnormal status. And that A1 is basically healing away there. You can also see we got some attack gauge decrease on that A1 on the passive ability, and some attack gauge charge for her as well. This works really nicely for this champion. And then her C8 ability, after an ally attack, has a 10% chance to charge attack gauge by 100% and trigger the future to come, which is this nice big kind of attack ability here, which reduces attack gauge and drops sleep on. That's actually really strong, right? So like you can CC the enemy, you can decrease their speed, and it's basically a free attack, and she gets her attack gauge boosted up in the process. Really, really nice possibility, and that's just when an ally attacks. So 10% chance, not a lot, but it's not meaningless either. But there's definitely some potential there. Maybe not on again, I think with a secondary type of team, but you end up controlling the enemy by reducing their attack gauge. And if you can do that consistently, that can be really effective as far as getting your team more turns and limiting the enemy. It's an interesting one, and I think she's going to be pretty useful, mostly because she's going to help you beat some of those tanky teams because she has recovery disruption, right? And that's a really, really nice thing. You can see it right here on her passive ability. When attacking targets inflicted with decreased defense, has a 100% chance of dropping recovery disruption and increase her damage taken. She has recovery disruption on her A3 as well. Some more CC stuff also. So if you can pair her with someone that can drop defense, that can be really, really effective because now you're going to be, disrupting the enemy, not allowing them to heal. That can be really, damaging as far as, them trying to stay alive and get stuff going. Also, you get this at the start of battle, right? It will inflict on the 3 random enemies for 2 turns right at the start of battle once you get her C8. That's, again, really important. So when you face a team that is trying to just, stay alive and tank it up and heal up a bunch, somebody like Accolon can be really, really effective for you. All right, the last champion I want to talk about today is going to be Gareth. Gareth, really good champ. Well, kind of an interesting champion, right? She has a kind of a unique thing going on with her kit. So first off, her passive has like this ignore resistance, right? For 1 turn at the start of battle. So you get effect accuracy up, ignore resistance up, and Cyclone Fist, you can get that, right? So so it's kind of interesting, right? Beginning, it kind of like charges her up, gets her ready to go, and that's all kind of prep for her one really strong ability right here. It's this A3 bind. So basically you get that ignore resistance and accuracy up, and then you hit with the A3 and you bind 1 enemy, and that just kind of locks them down. So it's a great way. They can't take any actions during their turn. Evasion rates decrease. And that's a 3, for 3 turns, you have them on lock. That's pretty strong. So you want to take somebody out of the fight right off the jump. I think Gareth is a great choice for that and can be very, very effective for your team. So that's definitely somebody that I would look at. I think could be a really good kind of one and done type champion, right? Like I drop them in, they do this thing, and then I don't have to worry about the enemy or her again. Be pretty effective little strategy there when you're facing, maybe a team that has one really tough champion or a champion that you just don't have a good counter for. Drop in Gareth, bind them, and knock them out of the fight, essentially. That can be really, really effective for you. All right, those are the rare champions that I think, are probably being slept on a little bit and could be used in your clan war teams, arena teams, obviously, as well. Now, obviously, I didn't mention all the rares. There's definitely other really good ones, right? We all know Cormac's a really strong damage dealer. We all know Turin is a buff maniac, right? Isolde, Sarah, they're both going to be great with the healing. It's not to say that the others aren't good, but those are some that I think have some kind of unique mechanics that can be utilized and utilized very effectively, especially in something like Clan War, where you're bringing so many different teams to the table. So that was my thinking behind it. Hopefully, you guys found that informative, helpful, and maybe a little bit fun. Maybe we had a little bit of fun in this video. Anyway, I do want to thank King Arthur Legend Rise for sponsoring today's video. Just huge of them to be able to do that. Make sure you download the game if you haven't started playing. It is a lot of fun. I'm probably going to be playing for a while. I'm actually probably going to be joining a new clan pretty soon too, because my clan's not so great. So I want to kind of join a new clan. When I get info for that, I'll leave that down in the pinned comment description so you guys can come and join the clan that I'm in. But yeah, that's what's kind of going on, guys. I just thank you for watching. Again, make sure to hit those links down below in the pinned comment and description of the video. And until next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.